And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Hello, I'm David Kramer with Alaska Weather. Thanks for joining us for our aviation section today. Starting off, we'll take a look at our flying weather on Sunday morning. We have widespread MVFR conditions out through the Bering Sea and Aleutian Islands, with some areas of IFR as we get north of the Pribilof Islands through the Seward Peninsula area. As our front is pushed more inland, we are seeing MVFR conditions through much of the western half of the state and all of south central. IFR conditions up north and some areas of IFR in the northern portions of the Gulf. But for the Panhandle area, primarily VFR conditions Sunday morning, with MVFR conditions coming in from the Gulf waters. On Sunday afternoon, those conditions will have spread throughout the Panhandle, MVFR conditions up north with IFR conditions farther to the south. Widespread IFR conditions for mainland part of the state. However, there will be some pockets of VFR, especially in eastern and southern locations. Then IFR conditions extending along the Arctic coastline down the west coast as well to the YK Delta area. And then widespread MVFR conditions continuing for the Bering Sea and Aleutian Islands. As we move into Monday morning, the next system coming in is going to bring some IFR conditions to the central and western Aleutian Islands. Then MVFR conditions are going to continue to expand out east towards the southwest portion of the state and into some areas of the western interior. Up along the Arctic coastline, a mixture of MVFR and IFR will be expected. And then down in the Panhandle area, MVFR conditions that will extend out over much of the Gulf as well. Monday afternoon, continuing to see MVFR conditions down to the Panhandle and eastern portions of the Gulf. Mixture of MVFR and IFR for south central areas through much of the interior, getting more MVFR as we get farther to the west. And then up along the Arctic coastline, MVFR and IFR is expected. We'll see a lot of IFR extending out over much of the northern portions of the Bering Sea, extending down to the Pribilof Islands and the central Aleutian Islands on Monday afternoon. Taking a look at our passes, starting up north again, Anaktuvik is going to be MVFR throughout the day on Sunday. We do expect Adigan to be MVFR as well. Lake Clark and Merrill should both be MVFR on Sunday. Rainy Pass, MVFR. Windy will start off IFR, improve to marginal conditions in the afternoon. Isabel should be marginal throughout the day on Sunday. Mentasta also expected to be MVFR. Tanita starting off IFR, then improving to marginal conditions in the afternoon. And same thing for Portage. And then finally, Chilkoot and White will both start off VFR and then drop down to marginal conditions in the afternoon. Taking a look at our freezing levels, we can see some of the warm air coming into the Gulf waters, bringing freezing levels up to as high as 8,000 feet over the Panhandle. As we move out farther to the west, we can see areas of colder air coming down towards the west coast, 4,000 feet for a lot of the YK Delta area. Taking a look now at our icing, with that front moving through, we do have icing over much of the mainland part of the state, about 4,000 feet up north. That's going to extend down to southwest as well, above 5,000 feet as we get closer towards south central area, and southern portions of the Panhandle above 8,000 feet down there. Taking a look at our jet stream, we have the jet exiting our area towards the Panhandle area up to as high as 105 knots out of a southwesterly direction, 100 knots out over south central, but the strongest portion of the jet is out by the Aleutian Islands, 135 knots out of a northwesterly direction. It's dropped down to 9,000 feet. We're still seeing that same direction out of the northwest for the Aleutians, but not quite as high, only around 40 to 45 knots there. Getting stronger as we get closer towards the Alaska Peninsula up to as high as 55 knots by Kodiak Island. And then out over the Panhandle area, 55 to 60 knots out of a westerly direction is going to be expected. Dropping down to 3,000 feet, still decently strong there, 35 knots through the inside waters of the Panhandle out of a westerly direction. Picking up to 45 knots over southwest portions of the state and down through Kodiak Island, staying out of that westerly direction around the low. And then dropping off as we get by the Aleutians, getting quite a bit lighter there, only around 20 to 25 knots. It's going to bring some turbulence in the areas where we saw some of the stronger winds out over the southern portions of the mainland. Below 5,000 feet expected from Kodiak Island through much of southwest. And then for the south central areas below 6,000 feet expected through the Alaska Range and down into the Prince William Sound, Kenai area. With Alaska Weather, I'm David Kramer. Thanks for watching.